All right, this next video might not be for everybody because you might already have your practice started up and running and going, but I'm going to give some tips to those who may not have an estate planning practice running and kind of what do you want to do to get this thing going. So first off, let me give you some tips on what I learned in starting an estate planning practice. Number one is in law school, I worked for an estate planning attorney, and he was a very good estate planning attorney. He also was a financial advisor. But the location that he had was not ideal for doing estate planning. He just didn't have the practice large enough to ever really take off. And so one of the key components of doing estate planning is picking the right location. I drove around the state of Texas, looked at different areas, and found the right area that I knew people would need to do estate planning. Estate planning is not something that's usually done in poor neighborhoods. It's going to be middle class families. Now you can move to an area that's upper class, very wealthy area, but you're going to be running into steep competition with big law firms to go in there and try to do estate planning for super wealthy people. So I found middle class families, upper middle class families, there's not very many attorneys going after that business. So location is key. Picking the right location. Now, what if you're more established, you're already in an area and you have no intention? Well, branching off into other areas that are more commonly used, like elder law, and helping people get on Medicaid assistance and doing estate planning under that context is very important. And you can go kind of that route. The next thing is, after you pick your location, is be very aware of where you're going to put your office. Putting your office in a part of town that's difficult to get to is not a wise strategy. And also your office building. The very first office that I had, I definitely did not look as professional as it could. People walked in, they did not feel comfortable of handing over thousands of dollars to an attorney that all he could afford was a little tiny office. You need to look at the appearance that you're putting off. And there's a lot of different options available now that you can look like you have a big office, but really not have to spend that much. There's a lot of companies out there. Regus is an example. In my area, we have a company called the Jaeger Office Buildings that they look very professional. They already have receptionists for you, and you meet people in their conference rooms. Now, these are expensive options and not the best to go out there and first probably jump into, but it is an option going forward. The other thing about starting your practice is understanding if you really have a network in the area. Of course, if you already have a network built up, it's going to help you out significantly because you'll have people who know you and will refer you business. I started off in an area I did not know one person in. So it works. You can take yourself, put yourself in an area that no one else has been in. Now, when I was young, I had an attorney come to me and give me some advice on starting a practice. He said, Taylor, if I was to restart from the very beginning, I would find a major city. I would find the outskirts of the major city where it has been growing to for years. And I would put my office right in that location, and I would stay there and grow with the city as it became older. And then by the time you're 10, 20 years down the road, you will be the established attorney. And that's exactly the advice I took, and I've watched as my area has grown and I have become more established as the estate planning attorney in the area. But these are some concepts that you can use to start getting estate planning going. And the next video I want to get into is, well, how do you market? How do you get actual business? But those are the concepts of starting the practice.